Hare Krishna. Today we will speak a little about Sripada Ramanujacarya. Chaitradram sambhavam Vishnur darshanasta panutsukam tundira mandale shesha murtim Ramanujam bhaje. I worship Sripad Ramanuja, the incarnation of Ananta, who took birth in the month of Chaitra, April-May, under the 6th lunar mansion in the Tundirajas, and who came upon this earth to establish philosophy of Sri Vishnu. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, Shri Bhagavan imam vishvasvate yogam proktavam aham avyayam vivasyan manave praha manur ikshva kave bravit. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu, in turn, instructed it to Ikshvaku. So this is the way to transfer and distribute transcendental knowledge through the parampara. It's called the disciplic succession from guru to disciple to the next disciple, etc., etc. And then in the next verse, Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalaneha mahata yoga nashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in due course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. And thus Krishna spoke the science again to Arjuna, his disciple, and therefore we have the Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam. The parampara means generational transfer of knowledge from guru to disciple, etc. Then there's another word called Sampradaya. A Sampradaya means a spiritual tradition or a branch which is linked to a founder or a reviver of spiritual tradition within a succession like that. So it is very important that we base our knowledge in spiritual life on authorities. We have different successions or different traditions within the Vaishnava community. And we have basically 3 tracks that we can rely upon when it comes to spiritual knowledge, because spiritual knowledge is transcendental and it's beyond the material senses. So it's very difficult, if not impossible, for an ignorant person to confirm whether somebody speaks the absolute truth or not. So unfortunately, this world is like the many blind leaders leading blind followers. But we have 3 tracks, and that's Guru, that's a spiritual master, somebody who gives direction, or the initiating spiritual master, or Srila Prabhupada, the Jagat Guru. He is the Guru of everyone. And then you have Shastra, which is absolutely the most important one, the revealed scriptures, like the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, etc. And the third one are saintly persons. So whenever there is some disagreement between 2 of them, for example, then one can always consult the third to figure out what is the truth. So that is our sources of knowledge. Our knowledge is authorized. But many times you meet people who think that, we can say whatever we want because it's, anyway, transcendental or spiritual. So I can concoct my own philosophy. And Srila Prabhupada was very stern when he many times encountered some person who says, well, I think like this and I think like that, and this is my philosophy. I have my own philosophy. The Prabhupada would refer to his authorities from the four main Vaishnava Sampradayas. The Ramanuja Sampradaya, which is coming from Sri or Laksmi Devi. The Brahma Sampradaya, Madhava Brahma, that's basically our Sampradaya, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose to appear. So this Sampradaya is called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And then the third one is coming from Rudra, from Shiva, and that is Vishnu Swami, who is the founder. And the fourth one is Nimbarkacharya, coming from the Kumaras, from the Kumara brothers. So Prabhupada says, these are my authorities, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, and Nimbarkacharya. So who are your authorities? That generally would silence the person a bit. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted the essence of the philosophies from all four Sampradayas, actually. He took two principles from each. And this is described very nicely by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his books called Navadip Dham Mahatmya. So he, especially from Ramanuja, Mahaprabhu incorporated the concept of bhakti, which is unpolluted by karma and jnana, and also the importance of service to the devotees, Vaishnava Seva. So these are the two principles that Mahaprabhu adopted from the Ramanuja Acharya Sampradaya. If you study the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Lila, in the beginning, some of the first chapters, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the different branches and sub-branches of the Panchatattva, because they all became spiritual masters. So first there's a chapter of the branches and the sub-branches of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then comes a chapter about the branches of Nityananda Prabhu, and then some branches of Advaita Prabhu, and then from Gadadhar Prabhu. So Mahaprabhu is comparing the tradition of Bhakti Yoga to a tree. There's a trunk, and that trunk is basically Mahaprabhu himself, but it sprouts in different directions, in different branches and sub-branches. If you study the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you understand that there is a very large variety of different branches of Vaishnavas, and out of those, they are the main four Sampradayas are the ones that we mention. This is our own, that ISKCON is basically a little part of that. And then we have the Ramanujacharya. These are the two most prominent Sampradayas. And the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada, and the Ramanujas, they always had a very good relationship. There's a different flavor in the philosophy between these different Sampradayas, but it's basically like you have your family, you have some cousins or brothers with little different outlook on things, different emphasis. But there's deep-rooted respect and interconnectedness between the different Vaishnava traditions, and maybe particularly between the Ramanujas and the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The Ramanujas, the Sri Sampradaya, they have their center in South India, a huge, wonderful temple called Sri Rangam. And there is a deity of Lord Ranganath. This is actually a form of Vishnu, which they worship with profound reverence and devotion, which is kind of distinct from the more intimate devotional mood that we often see in the Krishna worship in the Gaudiya Vaishnava culture tradition. The word Vaishnav comes from the word Vishnu. Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The very word means he who pervades everything and he who is everything, is the maintainer, Vishnu. So it's the personality of the absolute truth. And the there's no difference really between Vishnu and Krishna and Lord Ramchandra, Lord Nrsingadev, Varaha, Kurma, all these Vishnu Tattva forms. However, there's a qualitative difference in mellow, in the feelings between the devotee and his particular form of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So what I would say is that Vishnu is worshipped with Lakshmi. Of course, this is the Sri or Lakshmi Sampradaya we are talking about. And she worships Vishnu, her consort, with a lot of respect and veneration. So that is their mood. And Krishna, it becomes more intimate. One could say above the servitorship and like that, which is characterizing the Vishnu worship, you have friendship that's more on equal terms with Krishna, where you play as a cowherd boy like that. And you have Vatsalya Ras, that's the parental, like an elderly relative or parent of Krishna, where you love him out of protection. You want to serve him like that. And then maybe the most, not maybe, but it is the most intimate, passionate love, like a romantic partner to the Lord, which is displayed with Radha Krishna and with the gopis. So there's another kind of intensity and another flavor of that love that the devotee shows for the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada used to, in a warm and loving manner, describe the relationship between the Ranganath deity, which is actually a form of Vishnu lying down on top of Anantashesha, being massaged by Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune. And Prabhupada used to say that Ranganath deity is a tenant of Govindaji. Govinda is another name of Krishna. Because the land is taken from Govindaji and Ranganath's temple is being constructed. So the Ranganath temple is very opulent, very big, and millions of devotees come there. The temple management pays the rent. So Govindaji is the landlord and Ranganathaji is the tenant. So this is, from the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha. So Krishna is the owner, proprietor of everything. Everything emanates from him. But Prabhupada also said that Ramanuja, he was a very staunch opponent to impersonalism and Mayavad, and he was very much disliked. As a matter of fact, the Mayavadis tried to kill Ramanuja. They plotted against him. Unfortunately, one of Ramanuja's relatives, one cousin, heard about it, so he can avoid the whole thing. Prabhupada said the impersonalists and Mayavadis, they hated Ramanuja because he was a staunch enemy. And amongst the Vaishnavas, he was the greatest acarya. And to kill the Mayavadis, he was the ablest person. So it was kind of violent. Ramanuja, he would defeat the Mayavadis in every philosophical debate there was. And still in South India, there is a debate between the Mayavadis and the Ramanuja devotees. They have talks, and the Mayavadis are always defeated by the sharp intelligence and fixed philosophy that the Ramanujas present. Anyway, Ramanuja, or Ramanujacarya, as he's called, he was born over 1,000 years ago, in the year of 1017. And the word Rama Anuja means actually follower of Ram. Just like we say Rup Anuga or Prabhupada Anuga is a way to say we're followers of Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada. So Ramanuja means follower of Sri Ram, which is a lot of Indians that really love Lord Ram. Ramanuja, he was born 1017, and his parents, they were like smart Brahmins. That means like basically caste Goswamis or like this, and they had a tendency to Advaita, the oneness philosophy of the impersonalists. So they sent him to a school at a non-Vaishnava guru called Yadava Prakash. Yadava Prakash, because the parents just wanted him to be a scholar, not really a devotee of Vishnu, but a scholar. So he went to this an impersonalist Advaita guru, Yadava Prakash. And Ramanuja's strategy was to learn the philosophy, and this is coming from Shankaracharya. So he wanted to learn the Shankara philosophy and all his arguments simply so he should be able to refute them, to defeat the arguments. So Ramanuja, he excelled. He was an A student for this impersonalist guru, and he very carefully avoided any conflict with his teacher until one day when it kind of became too much, because the teacher always wanted to give impersonalist interpretation to Shastric shlokas. So one day his guru, he was lying down and got a back massage from Ramanuja. He was one of his students, so he was massaging his back. And Yadav Prakash, he started to interpret one shloka from the Chandogya Upanishad in a very derogatory, insulting way towards Vishnu, because the shloka was about Vishnu. And then Ramanuja, he couldn't take it anymore. So he was, his eyes got red and he was shedding hot tears, and the tears were falling on the back of Yadav Prakash. So he could understand there was something wrong. So he was asking, "What's wrong?" like this. And he could understand that Ramanuja was not very happy with his interpretation of that shloka. So then he said, "So you, Ramanuja, you tell me, what is your interpretation?" And Ramanuja just said that we don't need a reputation because the shloka is very clear as it is. It's just the impersonalist that has to twist the words to squeeze some other meaning out of it. The verse says clearly that the lotus eyes of Vishnu are as beautiful as the newly blossomed red lotus in the lake, he said. And then his teacher, Yadav Prakash, could understand that this will be a great opponent. So from that day, they became, wary. And there was actually Yadav Prakash with some of his disciples that made a plot to allure Ramanuja to the banks of the Ganges and then kill him on the spot. And then afterwards, they will bathe in the Ganges to get rid of their sins. But fortunately, that insidious plan didn't succeed. Ramanujacarya, he heard about that, so he could avoid it. So anyway, at the age of 16, he got initiated with the Brahmin thread, and he got married to one lady of a higher caste also. And then, he left this school of the Advaitist, non-Vaishnav, and became a disciple of a great devotee called Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna was a Shudra, but he was a great devotee. Ramanuja's wife wasn't very happy that his, exalted husband would take instruction from a Shudra. So there was some drama going on also towards the wife of Kanchipurna. Like, she felt contaminated by their presence and stuff. So finally, Ramanuja had it. So he left his family and he took sannyas, a Tridandi, sannyas Tridandi, like the Vaishnavas. The Mayavadis and the impersonalists, when they take sannyas, they take an ekadanda. Everything is one. But the Tridandi Goswamis, like Srila Prabhupada, he was Tridandi Goswami, Bhaktisiddhanta. There are three rods symbolizing that we should serve the Lord with the body, mind, and words. Going back to Yadav Prakash, the Vedantist, impersonalist, one night he had a dream. And in the dream, he heard a divine voice saying, "You should become the disciple of Ramanuja." So that would be reversed. So he took this seriously, and he actually found Ramanuja. He fell down at his feet begging for blessings. He was no longer a proud scholar, but a humble devotee of Vishnu. So Ramanuja, being very merciful, great personality, he accepted his former teacher as disciple. And Ramanuja became more and more expert in scriptures. He made his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. It's called the Sri Bhashya. Just like Baladev Vidyabhushan made the Govinda Bhashya. Although this is from our tradition, Mahaprabhu never bothered making a commentary on the Vedanta because there is already a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra made by Vyasadeva himself. And that commentary is called Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's very dear to the Vaishnavas. But in any case, Baladev Vidyabhushan made one, and for different reasons. And also Ramanuja made his, the Sri Bhashya. And he made a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita and several other prominent literatures. So he was very expert. And then he got advice that he should get a Vaishnava mantra, a very potent, very powerful and secret Vaishnava mantra. So he went to a great personality called Goshtipurna. And Goshtipurna, he didn't want to give that. He says, this is secret, just for very special people. So Ramanuja had to beg Goshtipurna 18 times. 18 times he begged him. And he was, begging, he was crying, and finally Goshtipurna relented. Okay, I will give you the mantra. But you have to promise, just keep it to yourself, very strictly. It's secret. It's not for everybody. So yes, so he gave him the mantra. And because that mantra will deliver free anyone who chants it. It's almost as powerful as the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but it was very secret. So the mantra is Om Namo Narayanayana. How do I know that? Because it was, listen to this. First thing Ramanuja did, after getting the mantra, he was followed by people and they were curious. What is this? What is this? So he simply told them the mantra. So everybody started to chant Om Namo Narayanaya. And when Goshtipurna heard about this, he was angry. He was really furious. You broke your promise. It's going to be so. You're going to go to hell for this. And Ramanuja says, I don't mind going to hell if these people get liberated by chanting this mantra. That is my service to them. I am prepared. And then Goshtipurna understood what a great personality Ramanuja was. And then he also became a disciple of Ramanuja after he realized how great he was. So the Sri Sampradaya, they believe that Ramanuja is an incarnation of Lakshman in the Ram Lila. Ramanuja, then Ram and Lakshman. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he says that Ramanuja is also an incarnation of Ananta Shesha. Ramanuja established many temples in India. He was touring and preaching. He converted thousands of people to Sri Vaishnavism, to worship Lord Vishnu with awe and veneration. And finally, he left in the year 1137. So according to science, he became 120 years old. Anyway, that was a little bit, one can say a lot about Sripada Ramanujacarya. As I said, Ramanuja means the follower of Ram. Acharya means somebody who teaches by his own example. And sure, he did that very nicely. So thank you very much. All glories to Sripada Ramanujacarya. Ki Jai.